Welcome to The Curious Mind. Today, we're doing a deep dive into one of the most talked about influencer legal cases in 2025. Erik Conover, a man with millions of YouTube followers, known for luxury real estate content and beautiful homes, now accused of a violent police chase, assault, and more. We'll walk through who Erik Conover is, what happened on March 15th in Bartlett, New Hampshire, the charges, how the case has unfolded, the curious rollerblader video, questions about drone footage, and where things stand now. Along the way, we'll point out inconsistencies, missing evidence, and red flags you should know about. Disclaimer: all statements we discuss are based on public records and media reporting. Nothing in this video is intended as legal advice. Who is Erik Conover? Erik Conover is a content creator, real estate influencer, and YouTuber. Before 2025, his public image centered on touring luxury properties, architecture, travel, and lifestyle content. He built a substantial following in the millions. He also had a reputation for high standards, polished video production, and discussions around design, geometry, and sometimes metaphysical ideas, not legal trouble. Thus, when news broke that he was arrested for allegedly colliding with a police officer and then fleeing in a chase, the contrast between his former persona and the charges made headlines. The incident, March 15, 2025, Bartlett, New Hampshire. Here's what is publicly reported about the incident, piece by piece, with caveats where sources differ. On March 15, 2025, Bartlett, New Hampshire police say Officer Cameron Emmett attempted a traffic stop on a black Jeep Wrangler being driven by Conover. The stop was over a speeding violation. Reports say Conover was driving at an estimated 55 miles per hour in a 35 miles per hour zone. Instead of complying, authorities allege the Jeep fled, initiating an 8-mile pursuit through Bartlett and neighboring roads. At one point, the police say Officer Emmett maneuvered his cruiser in front of Conover, ordering him to exit the vehicle. But the Jeep reversed or backed and then accelerated toward the officer. Emmett is alleged to have been struck by the vehicle. Thrown some distance reports vary from 20 to 40 feet and sustained injuries. Instead of stopping, Conover allegedly continued driving. The chase extended beyond that initial stretch. One report estimates the full pursuit as approximately 38 miles until authorities used spike strips to disable the vehicle. The officer was transported to hospital, treated, and later released. His injuries were serious but not life-threatening. From this outline, it's a dramatic high-stakes chase allegation involving direct collision with an officer, flight, and a multi-jurisdiction pursuit. Once arrested, Conover was hit with a series of criminal charges. These evolved over time. Let's break them down. Early reports mention attempted murder of a police officer, along with first or second-degree assault, recklessness with a deadly weapon, and a range of related misdemeanors: reckless driving, disobeying an officer, conduct after an accident. After further prosecutorial review, the attempted murder charge was dropped. Conover was instead indicted on several felonies via a Carroll County grand jury. Among the remaining charges as reported: first-degree assault against a police officer, assault with a deadly weapon, reckless conduct with a deadly weapon, disobeying an officer, and related traffic, accident, misdemeanors. After his arrest, Conover was held on preventive detention, meaning no bail was set, as the state argued he was a danger and risk to the public. His defense requested bail, suggesting conditions like treatment, home confinement, or other supervision. The judge declined to alter bail terms, leaving the decision to the Superior Court. A key turning point. In April, Conover was granted 30 days in a mental health facility to evaluate his state of mind. During that period, his bail was temporarily converted to personal recognizance, a form of release based on his promise to appear. Subject to certain conditions, but once the treatment period ended, he was to return to preventive detention unless new orders decided otherwise. After that period, prosecutors moved to deny an expedited bail hearing, citing calls he made from jail to his parents, which they say undercut his mental health defense. In those calls, the state alleges Conover admitted mental health crisis is our go-to and asked his mother to draft a PR email using ChatGPT. The court ultimately found Conover competent to stand trial. So, by mid-2025, Conover is back in detention, facing felony charges. With questions about mental health, bail, and evidence pushing forward. The rollerblader and drone footage, why this matters. This section dives into the parts that stir doubt and public curiosity. The rollerblader Keith Wright, among the public's known footage, is video from a rollerblader identified as Keith Wright. Wright claims he was rollerblading on Route 302 with a GoPro when he heard sirens. Pulled off, hit record, and captured part of the chase scene. This clip has circulated in media coverage and social media. This is unusual for several reasons. Route 302 is a major state highway, not a typical rollerblading route. It's curvy, trafficked, and not designed for recreational skating. The fact he was already recording with a GoPro and quickly recorded after hearing sirens raises questions about timing and readiness. The rollerblader's footage suffers from a restricted, decatured ground-level perspective and a limited angle, which likely fails to capture critical events, obstructions, or a broader vantage point. However, the rollerblader video does give a human, visceral angle that is compelling, especially because the public and media often rely more on what can be seen than what is hidden. The alleged drone footage. Prosecutors and press reports claim that drone aerial footage exists and shows key parts of the incident. For example, allegedly depicting Conover attempting to strike Officer Emmett. Yet, this drone footage has not been released publicly, at least not in the media sources I found. That raises several questions. Why withhold drone video if it supports the state's version? Does the drone video conflict with what the rollerblader or other witnesses say? Is it being withheld under investigative privilege, privacy, or sealing orders? Or is there a strategic decision by prosecutors to limit public access? A mismatched public bystander or ground-level video versus claimed aerial footage. Hidden from public view fuels skepticism that the public is not seeing the full story. Hence, the rollerblader's video becomes more than just supplemental. In many media narratives, it's one of the few visuals the public sees, making it disproportionately influential in how people interpret the case. The legal and strategic battlegrounds. To understand how this case may unfold, and where truth and narrative may clash, here are the major battlegrounds. Mental health, competency, and insanity defense. The defense's move to seek a mental health evaluation and ultimate use of an insanity defense is crucial. If Conover can successfully argue that he lacked criminal responsibility at the time due to a severe mental disorder, that changes the rules of the game. But the state has pointed to evidence indicating pragmatism, planning, or manipulation. The calls from jail, admissions about using mental health claims strategically, etc. Courts must separate competency to stand trial whether a defendant can understand proceedings from sanity at the time of offense, which is a different standard. So the fact Conover has been found competent doesn't settle whether he was sane during the March incident. Evidence, disclosure, and discovery suppression. The defense will demand full access to all relevant evidence, drone footage, police body cam, dash cam, dispatch logs, internal memos, reports, statements, etc. If prosecutors withheld or redacted significant material, defense could file motions to suppress or even challenge the fairness of trial Brady violations. The question: will the judge compel, release, or review of the drone video? Perhaps in camera. Will some parts remain sealed or redacted? Discrepancies between what the public sees rollerblader video and what is withheld aerial footage could play out in pretrial motions and hearings. Pretrial motions, plea versus trial. We should expect motions to compel evidence, motions to suppress, and challenges to admissibility of particular statements or video segments. The court may have to decide whether to make certain exhibits public or whether they remain under seal. If the insanity defense is accepted, expert psychiatric testimony, medical records, and mental health evaluations become central. Given the risk and complexity, the parties might explore a plea agreement. Though with felony charges and public profile, that is a delicate negotiation. Where things stand now and what to watch, summarizing the current status as of late 2025 per public record. Conover is in preventive detention, still in jail. His attempts at bail have been blocked. The prosecution is strongly opposing an expedited bail hearing, citing Conover's conversations from jail. The mental crisis is our go-to statements. Use of ChatGPT to craft PR as evidence of manipulative tactics. The court has found him competent to stand trial. The attempted murder charge has been dropped. Remaining felony charges through a grand jury are active. An insanity defense notice has been filed by his defense, signaling that mental health will be central. The case has not yet gone to full trial, no public record of a final verdict. A lot hinges on upcoming pre-trial motions and evidence disclosures. What to watch next? Court rulings on evidence, whether drone footage is compelled, redacted, or sealed. Expert reports and psychiatric evaluations introduced by defense and counter-evaluations by state. Motions regarding suppression, discovery, whether the defense can argue certain evidence was withheld unfairly. Any change in bail or release conditions, especially after mental health treatment or further evaluation. Trial schedule, plea announcements, whether the case settles or goes to full jury trial. Media leaks, public releases of new evidence. For example, if drone video becomes public, that could shift perceptions dramatically. Analysis and critical perspective, what doesn't add up? As viewers, what should you question when following this case? Here are some red flags and unresolved tensions. Why rollerblade on Route 302? The presence of a skateboarder with a GoPro on a state highway is odd. It raises the possibility of coincidence, but also invites scrutiny that his presence was more than incidental. Heavy reliance on bystander video while aerial footage is withheld. If prosecutors are confident in the drone's content, why not release it or allow review? That disparity lends itself to suspicion about narrative control. Jail calls as evidence against mental health claims. The state is presenting those recorded calls as contradictory to claims of genuine crisis. That could undercut the defense's mental health strategy. Charge reductions. The dropping of attempted murder suggests perhaps the evidence didn't support intent to kill. That may raise questions about how strongly the state's narrative aligns with facts. Transparency concerns. In high-stakes cases, the public has a right to know whether evidence is being withheld and to demand accountability in how law enforcement handles video evidence. At the end of the day, for justice to be credible, the full record, not just selective snippets, must be able to survive scrutiny. The Eric Conover case isn't just a sensational story about a YouTuber gone rogue. It's a microcosm of broader legal, ethical, and public trust issues. How evidence is disclosed. How mental health claims are treated in criminal law. The tension between public transparency and investigative secrecy. And the powerful role of bystander video in shaping narrative. We've walked through what is on record. The chase, the collision allegation, the charges, the bail battles, the rollerblader footage, the drone claims, the defense's mental health strategy, and what to watch moving forward. But many questions remain. What exactly does the drone footage show? Will it be released? Will Conover's mental health arguments succeed? Will the full truth come out in court or remain partially hidden? If you found this breakdown helpful, please subscribe to The Curious Mind, like the video, and share it with others who care about justice, transparency, and accountability. I'll keep this case on my radar and report updates here as they emerge. Stay curious, question your sources, and I'll see you in the next one.